X-Men. You were the X-Men.
What's up, guys? Welcome to House of Power, our X-Men and Deadpool in review. My name is Kyle. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. And guys, we got our X-Men shirt here, and we got, look at this nasty Wolverine hat. We even got the X-Men on the cap there, guys. But look at this font in the back. Woo! That's so good. This is my first time ever watching anything X-Men. I didn't watch the animated series growing up. I haven't watched the new series. I heard those were both fantastic. I never watched the live action. I never got into X-Men. But guys, my name is Kyle. Thanks for checking out the channel. Like I said, we're decked out. We got our X-Men shirt and our Wolverine hat, our Wolvie hat, dude. And we are going through every live action X-Men movie leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine. Super excited for that, guys. I got tickets for opening night. Every live action X-Men and all three Deadpool movies, well, Deadpool 1, 2, and then 3, obviously, or Deadpool Wolverine. And we're all going to get this out, guys, rapid fire before opening night. Well, I'll record these all before opening night, and these will probably go up later. So scratch that last part. But either way, I appreciate you guys. We're going to follow a pretty standard format, guys. If you've seen any of my other reviews, it's going to be kind of my thoughts on the movie. I'm not going to do really a recap. I'm just going to kind of give my overall thoughts for things I thought worked and didn't work. Maybe a favorite character. I'm not sure if we're going to do least favorite character. I guess we'll decide by the end of the review. But either way, guys, and we'll do a score to 10, of course, and we'll rank these movies as we go. But guys, like I said, my first time through the X-Men movies, never seen them. Super excited. Don't know anything really about the X-Men. Don't even know the characters' names or anything. So this was a great first movie for me. And guys, appreciate you. Let's go. So this is a movie that came out in the year 2000, right? And so with these movies, right, there's going to be things that's going to be a lot of weird effects or corny dialogue usually, or bad action sequences. This movie actually holds up pretty well. I will say these are all on Disney Plus, which is how I'm watching them, and they're upscaled in like 4K UHD, and it looks great, dude. This looks really, really good. And also this movie, the way this movie is filmed, Professor Xavier with his mansion and everything is just clean. There's a lot of silver. It's very, very clean slate. It's really cool. But again, I didn't know any of the characters. I know Wolverine, of course, because who doesn't know Wolverine? But I didn't really know Storm. I've seen Storm, but I don't know what Rogue does. I didn't know about Cyclops. I didn't know we got our boy James Marsden in here, who's always got kind of a weird face, kind of a punchable face. I do love James Marsden, but I love how they like basically had him wear these glasses the whole movie. And then they have that one scene towards the end where Magneto's got them locked up in the Statue of Liberty. They're like, James, okay, we're gonna take your glasses off, and apparently he can't just like look. I think maybe because I think his eyes are gonna fire, so that's why he's got the spectacles so that he can direct it. Although there's times where he's just casual walking around with red sunglasses, which I thought was funny looking. But he's got to just close his eyes, and I love the director just being like, James, okay, so you're gonna be over here. You're gonna be up against the wall. We need you to just close your eyes. Just take a little nap for us, James. And don't open. I know you want to open the eyes. Don't open the eyes. You gotta close your eyes for those powers. There were some scenes in this movie that were very like, that's corny. But for the most part, guys, I thought this did a really good job of setting up the universe, setting up the rules, introducing new characters. Again, there's some super awkward scenes, but I thought the effects looked really good. Mystique, especially, not only looked terrifying, but it just was really, really cool in the transformation part. The senator that turned into water, dude, that was terrifying. When he is like dying on the table or whatever, and then Storm has his hand and he's like, don't go from here, don't leave me. And then he like starts choking and he like turns just into water and dies. And I was like, oh my God, like nightmare fuel, dude. But again, the effects were awesome. Things that didn't work for me, guys, the relationship between Wolverine and Rogue, it almost, and I have, spoilers, I have seen Logan only one time though. I loved Logan, but don't remember much of it at all. But I know it's like regarded as like one of the best movies, and so I've seen that. That's the only thing I've seen. But it was given kind of a Logan vibe, but this was obviously way before Logan. I think 17 years before, and I just wasn't digging the Rogue Wolverine chemistry there. And I thought it was really cool how the movie opens up and like she kisses this boy in her room, and then he starts having like he goes into like a coma. That's how she kind of discovers her powers. But I would have liked to know like I don't know if they ever explained or maybe I missed it. How do the mutants get their powers? Are some of them born with it? What percent of people are mutants? It's like obviously Charles Xavier had his mansion, his school, and I like that that's kind of out in the open. But there's this thing where mutants aren't accepted, and that's the whole thing. And Magneto wants to be like, hey, we need to. I think his plan was like turn everyone to mutants so that we can all be part of one because they're gonna, someone's gonna sign this decree, and then we won't be able to go and do these things or live our lives. And it's kind of like hinting at, I guess, racism in a form where it's like, the U.S. has a bit of a checkered past, and I mean, this movie opens with the Holocaust, which I thought was really interesting, or I guess the end of the Holocaust, and they're battling, or he wants to spread the waves or whatever at the Statue of Liberty, and there's a lot of mentions about Ellis Island and immigration and all this stuff. And I love actually kind of love Magneto's motives here. I think he's a little power hungry, but I do think that he almost reminded me of Thanos a little bit in the sense of, oh, he's not necessarily a bad guy. He just wants kind of everything to be equal, where he's like, hey, I need to make sure that someone isn't controlling my life or doesn't throw me in a prison or lock me up because I'm a freak, even though I'm just like this dude who has super powerful magnetic abilities. And guys, can we talk about that scene with the cops where they bust out and then the cops all have their guns at him and he picks up the cars. He's like, put your hands up. He puts up the cars, throws the cars down, but then they all fire the bullets and he turns the guns on them. Super cool. Again, these effects were awesome. Ian McKellen, I think his name is, as Magneto. He's wonderful, but it is weird because he's a little older, and at least with Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, who's iconic. Maybe it's the bald head. He's got like a clean look to him, right? A lot like this movie, the way the cinematography goes. And he doesn't, Patrick Stewart doesn't look old because maybe because of the head, whatever. He's just a very, I guess, younger looking person. Ian McKellen acted acted the floor off. I don't even know if that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense, but he did a great job acting. But he was like noticeably older to me, and I was like, it's kind of weird. He looked a little goofy when he's in the suit and everything, and Magneto's suit is really cool. But I'm like, you're too old to be playing dress up. You know what I mean? It just seemed a little odd to me. But overall, guys, I think this is a really strong movie. Let's just put that loosely. I think it's a really strong opening movie, and for someone like me who doesn't know anything about the X-Men, they did a really good job of explaining, oh, well, Rogue's powers is that she takes the powers from the person she touches. And so I think that's why the boy in the beginning just kind of went into a coma because he didn't have anything. So she was just kind of taking, oh, Charles Xavier said like she takes the life form, which I thought was interesting. But all the scenes where when she's like touching Wolverine, I thought was weird, and the effects were kind of weird and kind of gross. No, Rogue's powers are kind of weird. I thought Storm was badass. Her power, first of all, her look is iconic. Like Storm's a baddie, let's be honest, but she's really cool when her eyes light up and she's got cool powers and stuff. And I don't know, Cyclops is just James Marsden wearing sunglasses the whole time, but it's still pretty powerful. I mean, they save Wolverine's life in the beginning. Rogue says, like, does it hurt when they come out? And he says, every time. I'm like, oh, damn, that's a really good line. And then they give him the suit, but then he doesn't like wince or anything. So like I don't know if they solved. Maybe I missed that part. I wish that Charles Xavier was like, oh, actually, we can give you this chemical or whatever, and it's not going to hurt anymore. So you can just use them whenever. But there's the scene in the bar in the beginning where he draws. First of all, he's fighting, and how does? Well, sorry, I'm kind of all over the map, guys. But we see Wolverine the first time, dude, and he's in like basically like a UFC ring, and he's just taking dudes out, and everyone's challenging him, and he's just like sitting there smoking in the ring. And there's these cool sound effects where he goes to punch him, and I'm like, oh my god, dude. And I will say, I know it's comic accurate, but the side chops and the beard and the cut here, and then the hair up, it looks so goofy. And Hugh Jackman is so great as Wolverine. He's perfect in that role. But man, there were times where I was looking at him, I was like, he looks so weird. He looks so goofy looking. I know that's how the comics are, and I've seen like the animated clips, and his hair is supposed to be like a Wolverine and like kind of crazy. But something about that just was like taking me out of it a little bit. But overall, guys, I thought this was a strong introductory movie that really set the world, and I thought the acting was good. I thought the questions that were being raised were good, and it's like, hey, how dangerous are mutants? I mean, that press conference with Jean Grey and Charles Xavier's there, and he's like, Eric, what are you doing here? And Eric is Magneto. And I love how there's like an old relationship between them. So there's a lot here to like. And there were a lot of seeds that were sprinkled where I was like, oh, okay, this is a really good like first draft. But I'm excited to see where these relationships go and how the movies improve or don't improve. And I know these probably aren't going to be highly rated movies for the most part, but I was really impressed with the quality for this, guys. And that doesn't mean that there weren't like awkward scenes or bad fight sequences or like where there are people clearly on a wire like going back. And I was like, oh, okay, they're just like flying backward for 3 minutes. And I was like, all right, but it was again, it was the year 2000, and so I think for the most part, this movie's kind of ahead of its time. And Magneto was really cool every time he came in, and the way he even just like floated down and how he's bending stuff, and even the jail where he just bends the things out. I was like, wow, that's so much cool. He seems more powerful than anyone else. So I also love how there's Charles Xavier, who's like the good guy with the powers, and then Magneto, who's the bad guy, and he's basically like he doesn't believe in humankind, so he wants to take over, but I'm here to stop them. And like, I just love how there's that literal chess match at the end, where they go and they play chess. I'm like, oh, okay. And the plastic prison is really cool. But I thought overall a strong movie and not the best movie I've ever seen by any means, but for me, a first time X-Men viewer who didn't know anything about it, they did a good job of relaying that information in a fun and organic and natural way. So I think it's a solid first outing. Okay, guys, favorite character for this one? It's Magneto, dude. It's Ian McKellen. I thought everyone was pretty strong in their roles. I think it was a good cast, but obviously, kind of the big three are Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, and Hugh Jackman. Even though he's not the most interesting character, he is kind of Wolverine's character is kind of like a drunk and he's got these problems, and we find out that he's been like experimented on in the past. But I thought Ian McKellen stood above everyone. I thought Magneto really like stole the show every time he was in a scene, and he's clearly the most powerful one too. But again, just him being older was a little weird to me, but I think I just have to get used to that. So super excited to see what he does going forward. I love his rivalry with Charles Xavier. Like I said, I like how they're old friends. That's like a tale as old as time, but it's a really good story beat. So Ian McKellen as Magneto, super great first impression. I love how he's like kind of wearing the top hat and undercover in the beginning of the very beginning of the movie in that kind of press conference with Congress or whatever. And I think he was the best one in this movie. Okay, guys, the score for this one, I'm going to say this is an 8-1. I think this is, like I said, a first strong outing. They did a really good job of setting it up, setting up the world, setting up the characters, the rules, and the real life implications and how they're like, are mutants dangerous? We got to control mutants. It's really cool because it felt very grounded. And I was like, okay, this is again really cool for someone who doesn't know anything about this world or this universe or these people. I like how they went through and kind of said, okay, these are these powers, these are these powers. And every time there was like a question where I'm like, why did that just happen? Usually like Charles Xavier would be like the one explaining to the audience, oh, well, Rogue's powers work this way. She takes the life out of her people she touches. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because I was like, how her powers work and stuff like that. And then for Storm, I was like, does she have to have like an open place can she only do like lightning and stuff? And shout out to that line where she's fighting that frog guy who was freaking weird and so 2000s. He's got the green hair and everything, and I'm like, his power is just that he's like a frog. He's got a super long tongue and stuff, but it can like move doors and stuff. I was like, whatever. But when she's like, oh, do you know what happens to frog when a lightning strikes it? And then she's like, same thing that happens to everything else. I was like, damn, Storm. And she just her eyes lighting up, and she's so cool. She's like one of the more iconic, I think, figures. She just looks so awesome. So I really enjoyed this as a first movie, with just by having its flaws where sometimes the pacing was weird or the action scenes were weird or the dialogue was cringy or the facial animations some of them made. But for the most part, I thought they did a really good job as a first outing, and I enjoyed my time with it. All right, guys, our rankings. Obviously, this is the first one, so by default, it goes at number one. But we'll have like a real ranking next week, so we'll wait for that. All right, guys, that's the first episode of House of Power. X-Men, the 2000 movie. What do you guys think of that movie? What do you guys think about my thoughts on it? Do you guys agree, disagree? Do you think it's better or worse? Let me know. Appreciate you guys watching either way. Until next time, guys. Every time.